how's it going? Matthew Bailey here, and welcome to another 2020 movie review. And once again, just like the last two reviews that I did for Trolls World Tour and I Still Believe, this is another movie that I actually saw at home, and this one was actually on demand. And as you can kind of guess from the background behind me, this is my review of Scoob. Yep. I just finished watching the Scoob movie here at my apartment, and I have to admit, this was a pretty interesting movie. It truly stuck to the original roots of the original show, even though I was definitely not around when the original show first came out. Because I think the first show came out in like 1969, and I was not even born then. My mom was, but I wasn't. But I have to admit, I've seen a lot of episodes of the original show, and when I saw this movie, and based on how Warner Brothers did with the original two movies from 2002 and 2004 that were written by James Gunn, I honestly think this movie truly did a lot better than those movies did. Honestly, I don't think the Scoob movie, the Scooby-Doo gang, does well in live action, specifically for young Scooby-Doo here himself. I mean, the way they CGI'd his character into the movie was like, I didn't think that worked. But this CGI Scooby, that was in sort of like a 3D version of himself, even though it was animated, this was a lot better. I have to admit it. And even all the other characters were cool. And this is supposed to be the first movie in a long line of Hanna-Barbera projects and a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, sort of like the MCU, but instead with Hanna-Barbera characters. And this kicked it off, and I have to say, I think this movie was great. The voice actors in this movie were amazing, and shockingly, the guy who voiced Shaggy, Will Forte, did an excellent job. I mean, I almost think, like, he basically sounds almost like so close to being like the guy who voiced him in the original movies, or not the movies, the original show from the late 60s and the early 70s. I have to say, he truly did Shaggy justice. I mean, Matthew Lillard, who was in the original live action versions, he's voiced Shaggy in the past too, but I think Will Forte did as good a job as Matthew Lillard did voicing the character, and a shocking well done to the guy who voiced Fred, Zac Efron. Yeah, that's right, Zac Efron. He's been in a lot of different films in the past, like he's been in High School Musical, he's been in The Greatest Showman, and even though I didn't see this movie, but I heard it was terrible, he was in Baywatch. But he did a good job voicing Fred in this movie, I have to admit. He really got that vibe. Because in the show, I don't even know if this was hinted at in the show, but Fred is sort of like a jock type guy. It was definitely featured in the original, in the cartoon movies that were like prequels. He was like a jock type person. He still had the blonde hair like he was supposed to. But, I mean, there's a scene, I'm trying not to spoil anything in this movie, but there's a scene where he actually brings out his true jock vibe, and I gotta say, Zac Efron nailed it. And even some of the other voice actors in this movie were amazing, like Ken Jeong as Dino Mutt and Mark Wahlberg as Blue Falcon. And there's even a shocking twist. I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but there is a shocking twist involving the Blue Falcon character that you have to see this movie to believe. And I have to say, it even went far enough to bring it into the modern era. Because as you remember, the original Scooby-Doo show was made in the early, like I said, the early 70s, late 60s, for 1969, I think was when it started. But they decided to bring this movie into the modern, the Scooby-Doo gang into the modern era. I mean, there was a lot of references to modern stuff in there, just like they did with Sonic the Hedgehog. They had some modern references in there. They did the same thing with this movie, and I think it perfectly works. And I have to say, this was an entertaining time, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for Hanna-Barbera projects, because I know the next one that's supposed to be coming out is like a live action CGI type version of Tom and Jerry. I'm not sure how that one, if that's even part of this universe or not. I really hope it, and to be honest, I hope it's not, because if there's actually going to be live action people in there and the CGI, I don't think it's going to work. But we'll see. But this movie nailed it. It was so awesome that I definitely think you should check this movie out. But for now, let me give you my rating of Scoob. So, for my rating of Scoob, I have to say, it did such a good job that I'm going to have to give it the same rating that I gave Sonic, which was a 4.2 out of 5. Yep, I think it definitely works. This movie, Warner Brothers actually learned from their mistakes, especially from the live action movies from way back in the early 2000s, the ones with Matthew Lillard as live action Shaggy. I think these movies did amazing. This movie did amazing. You should definitely. It's your decision whether you want to rent or buy it on demand, but I recommend you buy it because it is amazing, which is what I did. So, anyways, that's all for now in this review of Scoob, and as always, I will see all you dudes in the next video.